So today we're starting with that infamous, the green bean casserole. Now I really prefer the green beans that are kind of cooked Southern style with bacon and onions and turkey stock and just cooked. But I think that we should do the green bean casserole because I think it's the one thing that really gets mistreated with all the chemicals and preservatives and artificial stuff. So that's why we're going to do the green bean casserole today. And of course, no canned soups. So I'm starting with a pound of green beans, and I'm just going to line those up, take their little tips off, and then I think I'm going to cut mine in half because I think it makes it easier to eat when they're smaller instead of really long. And I've brought some water over here in my pot up to a boil because we want to blanch these. So I've got a pot of water boiling. I'm going to drop some salt in there. And then I'm just going to blanch these for 5 minutes. If you're not going to use fresh green beans, then I suggest do frozen instead of canned. I think that the canned ones just get way too mushy. And you don't need a whole lot of things for this. I have 1 8-ounce pack of mushrooms, and I went with cremini, and just use a paper towel or a brush and clean them. Don't run water over them. They're like little sponges, and we want them to soak up the butter and the flavorings that we're going to put in here and not get filled up with water and then not be able to soak all of that goodness in. I've got 1 onion, 1 small onion diced, 3 cloves of garlic. We've got some flour. There's our 5 minutes. But you could do this with cornstarch and substitute cornstarch. Do 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and dissolve that in about a half a cup of turkey stock, and then pour that in, and that way you can make it gluten-free if you have people that at your table that need a gluten-free dish. So it's easy to turn gluten-free. And we've got, of course, our turkey stock, some cream, some Worcestershire, some butter, and of course, those crispy fried onions. Now that I did a separate video for, so you're going to have to watch a separate video to make the crispy fried onions. But they're really easy, and you can do them well in advance. Now the green bean casserole, it goes pretty quick. It comes together really quick. But you could do that the day before and then just top it with your onions before it goes into the oven. So I've got my pan heating up, and I'm going to go with about 2 tablespoons of butter. And to that, we're going to add our 1 onion diced up. I'm going to go ahead and give that sprinkling of salt and let that start working the moisture out of those onions and softening them up for us. And now that those are softened, we're going to go in with the mushrooms. Now, a lot of recipes call for cooking the onions and mushrooms and garlic and then pulling that out and then making your roux and your cream sauce. But I like to just kind of cook things about halfway and not have to remove everything. And that way it just saves me washing something. And if I was making this green bean casserole, I would make it in this pan. So everything would already be in this pan, and all I'd have to do is pop it in the oven, top it with onions, and pop it in the oven. And one thing I like about the cremini is they're a little firmer of a mushroom as opposed to like if you did a white button mushroom. So they're going to hold their shape and their texture better. And then I'm going to add our garlic and just let that garlic cook for about 1 minute. And then I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of butter. Now, if you're doing the gluten-free version, I would just add at this point like 1 tablespoon of butter, and then make your slurry, a half cup turkey stock and 3 tablespoons cornstarch. But because we're going with flour, I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons all-purpose flour. And remember, we're making a roux. And when we make a roux, you want to cook that flour for a minimum of 1 minute. It takes that 1 minute for that raw flour taste to cook away. Now we're going to add 1.5 cups of half and half, or you can do heavy cream, or you could do whole milk or 2% if you really wanted to. And 1 cup of our turkey stock. Now this is the point where you would add in your cornstarch slurry if you were making this gluten-free. I'm going to give that a whisk, make sure, because we don't want any lumps. Now, if you have a family that don't like mushrooms, then absolutely omit the mushroom part. Now I'm going to do about a ½ teaspoon Worcestershire sauce, hot sauce, freshly ground pepper. I'm using my mixed blend, but black pepper works perfect here as well. A good pinch of salt and a little nutmeg. If you are measuring out already ground nutmeg, just a little pinch. A little nutmeg goes a long way. Now it seemed a little thin to me, so I want it just a little bit thicker than that. So I did another tablespoon of flour, and I just mixed that with a little of my half and half, just so I can add it without it lumping up on me. So I'm going to add this last tablespoon of flour to thicken this up. And you can just add a little bit at a time in case you don't need it all. And you can already see how it thickened up a little bit for us. And then, of course, we want to taste. The most important thing is to taste. See, that's looking better. That's looking thicker for us. And that's what we want to see. I'm going to turn my heat off so you can see how that thickened up for us. And then we're going to taste that. And I'm going to go another pinch of salt. And I think I'm going to hit it with just a little more Worcestershire. And end with our drained blanched beans. Now this is a part of the story where we could top this whole thing with our crispy fried onions and pop it in the oven. But I have plans for the other half of this, so we're just going to do a small casserole dish of this today to cook up for you. So I'm going to transfer these. What I like about this cast iron and doing it all in one thing is then just top it, throw it in the oven. Now, a lot of people like to add some Parmesan cheese to the top with their onions, but I kind of just like it with just the onions. But if Parmesan cheese sounds good to you, top it with Parmesan cheese, top it with your onions. Trying to get as much of that sauce in there as I can. Now these, you're gonna have to watch the video to make these. It's really simple. It doesn't take very long, and they are so good. So I'm gonna top these. And then we're going to go with 375 for about 30 minutes. And especially if you're doing it right then and throwing it in the oven, everything's already hot. It's not going to take that long. All right, here we have our no canned soup green bean casserole. And I can tell you, it tastes a whole lot different, a whole lot fresher, a whole lot more flavor to it. And I think once you make it from scratch, you'll never go back. It's hot. I love those crispy onion parts. Thank you, everybody, for watching again today. We're going to be back again tomorrow for another episode of What's for Thanksgiving Dinner this year without chemicals and preservatives. Can't wait to see you. Thanks for being here. Send me a note, send me a comment, say hi, or ask me any questions that you have. And I'm going to see y'all later. And until next time, safe cruising. Really delicious. Thanks, guys. I'll see y'all later.